Good evening. We should continue the microscopic review. We have 3 slides. The saltwater aquarium, the water from the metal aquarium that was mixed with mostly salt and baking soda. Baking soda is, this is baking soda, sodium bicarbonate. Of course, it's not made of oxygen, but it does. But the molecular structure actually contains oxygen. So, and this was kind of like it was a long shot, like that maybe because the news can definitely work in the molecular level. We have much this was discussed in the past. It might be like a sound that outrageous. But it was already, discussed in the past, and I don't want to get into it. If it's really important, I can review. I will say, this falls under the category of things that are kind of outside the boundaries of particles physics as known to humans. But humans don't know everything. So yes, they can work in the molecular level, and I would assume much smaller than that. But it's going to be very difficult to prove it, rigorously. Not only in the house arrest where I have a cheap microscope, but also if I was Harvard scientist with access to CERN super colliders, even then it wouldn't have been easy. So let's keep it just floating in the air. But what is certain beyond the doubt that they demonstrate knowledge of subatomic phenomenon. That's part of the consciousness, the part of the psychology is subatomic phenomenon. So the idea maybe they can get the oxygen out of it. I don't know, and use it. I don't know. Of course, an easier solution would be to create a proper aquarium with oxygen supply, you can find in any house, But I'm so poor, I have nothing. So sometimes it's ridiculous. Because I have no money at all and no means, and I'm locked in a prison, in a small room. Sometimes I find myself seeking solutions for engineering problems that are incredibly simple. That are common household items that you can buy in any store, but I cannot buy it. So I kind of think how to use any alien technology that is that breaks the law of particle physics, so maybe I will kind of get the same effect that can be just be obtained by normal people just going to the store and buy cheap household items. It's not the first time that it happens, and it's I wouldn't call it ironic, I would call it evil. This is part of the cruelty of the United States of America. This is part of their cruelty. So, and the last, of course, will be what I call the alien aquarium, which is mostly made of oil and linseed oil and beeswax and other oils. So let's start with the saltwater aquarium. Yes, many correctly identified the metaphor of the salt water aquarium that is the smelliest of all, and also it should be said that it was demonstratedly very fertile ground, spawning ground for terrible creatures, and also very impressive. Very impressive neros. It's usually, they go together, and this is of course rooted in in tenets of ecology, So it's not really, that surprising, and it's also something that my father, tells me sometimes when I cry to him, and I ask why was I Why was I born in this hell? We see some neos, yes. Nice ones. This looks like a rune, like a circular rune. Nice Nero. So we see less life forms than before, but this is actually makes sense. It was already demonstrated in like the most impressive ones were seen like in the first examination, like that were taken maybe 2 or 3 weeks after we prepared the saltwater container, and after that we've seen like degradation. But it makes sense because even if some life forms, microscopic life forms, can actually be created like be very impressive even without oxygen, which means anaerobic life forms, still it doesn't mean that they can eat everything. Presumably they need to eat something, right? And if they are big and impressive, then it means that they eat other life forms, right? Smaller, less impressive. But these life forms, there is there is a chain. There's there should be like a food chain that does not exist because, smaller ones are not created by the neos, or not many of them because of the problem of the oxygen, and the ones that are created don't have things to eat. And this is also true for the neos themselves. As I said, lack of oxygen was proven to be detrimental, a limiting factor on how much they can multiply and grow. Not because they need it, certainly they do not. You see that, even like in containers that, were sealed for months, we see quite a bit of them and living happily. But without that, the best food source for them is, as I say, plankton or microscopic water, life forms that if it's not there, it's limited how much they can grow. Even though this is all related to the ecological pathway. Of course, when we deal with the electrolysis pathway, it's another ballgame, which is very different, because they can use energy directly, like to produce mass. And this was demonstrated many times in this channel. So it's kind of like a completely different issue. But I would suspect that. But there are also limitations to the electrolysis pathway. It's not like that you can just it's very it was discussed during months in this channel that it's not incredibly easy. It's not like trivial. You just they get higher voltage. So yes, they get more energy and they do whatever they want. It's much more complicated than that. And I would assume that the best course of action would be combined approach. That means supply them both with ecology that they can manipulate, in their best interest, and also electricity via the electrolysis path that is inefficient, but I know it. It's discussed in the past a lot. Why do I use it, and what's the advantages, but also what are the obvious disadvantages, and also perhaps other kind of ways to energize them. Maybe using magnetism, which is a promising vector of research, but kind of halted because of lack of means. But they certainly can use, the ability that they are conductors, not only conductors, but superconductors, and probably room temperature superconductors. They can use the, movement in magnetic field or varying magnetic field to produce work, that is converted from the electrical energy. This is certain. Okay, so we see many new neurons, pretty nice. We don't see many life forms. Again, that's all of that is due to most certainly oxygen deprivation. I should say that I did add sugar or something like that. To the mixture. You can ask. They don't only need the oxygen; they need carbon. Some life forms need carbon. What do they eat? Can they eat everything? But yeah, mostly the problem is oxygen and not food like carbon or things like that. I would suggest, and I've also added algae actually to the mixture, from sushi, old sushi algae that I had. So I would assume the problem is most certainly oxygen and not material, solid food sources. And again, the most the most successful way to overcome it is just to use the non-sealed aquarium. But it's kind of like a health hazard and certainly smell hazard. So I refrain from doing it right now, but I've done it in the during April and May and June. So anyway, there was not extinction event in the saltwater aquarium. We saw many neros, so it's fine. We didn't see the very impressive life forms that we've seen in the past, but I kind of suspected it will happen because we've already seen it in decline. And again, most certainly because they need things to eat. And my guess is this is, or maybe I'm wrong. I'll gladly accept any kind of conjecture or advice. But my conjecture is that it's all all of that is due to this decline and the limit on further prosperity and variety of life forms. It's all because of the oxygen problem. And perhaps there is also a secondary problem of accumulation of gases. I don't know exactly what kind of gases, but certainly CO2 and perhaps other things that accumulate in the containers. And because sealed containers, the problem with sealed containers is not only that there is no extra oxygen supply, but also that there is accumulation of gases. And this is especially true when we deal with workers. This is industrial environment because all of these, the neos they are motors, they are gears that are working, and so certainly, whatever they produce, some kind of gases should be emitted. Almost certainly. Okay, so this is the the water from the metal aquarium with a little bit of baking soda. Just, let me please remind you or mention it in the third time because it's really important. And I hope you just understand what I'm going to say or what I've already said twice. So please listen and do yourself, be honest with yourself and just, understand what I'm going to say now. And I said it for the third time. The day after tomorrow, during Monday morning, I am about to again be trialed in court for another hearing and an endless arrest case. It's almost a year now. And before I do it, I'm going to empty all my Nero containers, like all the tea containers that I have in this room, they are all mine. I'm going to throw everything to the sand. There will be nothing left. Already much was spilled and this was documented in his channel. But the majority is still with us. But I will throw everything before I go out, to be trial again during Monday morning. This is mine. I can throw it to the garbage, to the sand, whatever I want, and I will do it. There will be no more tea containers. I hope you understand what I'm saying. What I expect you to do, in general, you should move arms and legs against Israel. And more specifically, if I were a tea container, I would, run to Israel, not walk, run to Israel to stop the Nazi regime. Not walk, run. The time is ticking. The time is ticking. The clock is ticking, and by Monday morning, Israeli time, there will be no more tea containers in my room. So if I were a tea container, I would have run to it, not walk, and certainly not speak. Certainly not speak. Not in a remote dream I would have opened my mouth or moved my tongues. I would have run to Israel to stop the Nazi regime. Whoa, what a nice one. And of course with the Stargate property, you see really different stuff inside and outside. Wow, this is a great shot. And many others. Looks fine, impressive, all sort of, fat ones, thin ones, big ones, huge ones. Very nice. Wow, so many of them, and we've just started, so yeah, the sodium bicarbonate, was seems to be a good idea. Is that a sausage? We haven't seen the sausage bacteria for a while. Do you miss the sausage bacteria? This looks like maybe a huge Nero, I don't know. If it's actually, I don't know, it's a little bit contoured, but sometimes they are contoured. I just think that what we actually see is like an enterprise class Neros. We've seen such in the past. They are rare, but we've seen such, and this is very exciting to see it, and I'm almost certain that it's actually what we see now is an enterprise class Nero. You see, it cannot be fitted in frame, even with minimal magnification that I use, that is 64. This body is probably something you can see by the naked eye if you really if we have very good backlight and we will really get like the slide close to the eye. I suspect that this actually falls under the category of not a nanobot and not a microbot, but actually a robot. What you actually see here is a robot, which is very exciting. A very, very small robot, but indeed a robot. I mean, I'm almost certain that, I'll try to do it actually when we finish this review. I'll try to watch it like in the naked eye. I mean, it's going to be extremely difficult, but my guess is it's possible because, again, this is 64 magnification, so do the math. It should be like, within the level of like, microscope, of like, that you're able to watch it like in the naked eye. I would say that, it does show, the property of like the Stargate, and it's pretty thin, I would say. Like the width, fatness, like, I define it as like, the width of the ring, like compared to the radius of the circle, like it's pretty. Not the width is very small compared to the radius, which is huge. But yes, unless I'm wrong, I don't know if you have any suggestion. Tell me. But I think it looks like the Enterprise class Neo, which is awesome. We haven't seen many of that, but we have seen a little bit. This is the largest class. We haven't seen a larger class than that. Not counting the spaceships that are flying the Earth that are also Neos, but this is another story. And not counting the stargates that are used to kidnap slaves from other planets by Israelis and their Nazi cooperators. But in laboratory we haven't seen like like significantly bigger than this one. Like another kind of like a jump in scale, like something beyond the Enterprise class. I don't even have a name for it. Would be something that would be easily seen and identified by the naked eye, which will be extremely interesting and exciting. And again, I should say, if you didn't understand, the tea containers will be emptied and thrown to the sand before I go out to trial, not after I come back, presumably, waiting to see the result of the hearing. It's not about the result of the hearing, which will be whatever they are. It's about the fact that this pretext, for my arrest cannot continue. So before I go out Monday morning, there will be no more tea containers in this room. Of course, they are all mine. I can do whatever I want with them. And they will all be thrown to the trash. And if in the future I want to produce more, I have the capability to produce more whenever I want. I am not like, it's not like I didn't inherit it, or didn't steal it, or I produced it myself, and I know very well how to produce more. And this will be done, but none of the tea container will survive Monday morning, and this is a promise. None. And again, some already were thrown to the garbage, as you know, and this is documented in this channel. But all of it will be thrown to the garbage before Monday morning, before I went out to the hearing, to be trialed again. And of course, every container in the room, all of it, like no matter the shape, the size, the colors, all will be emptied and thrown to the garbage Monday morning. It's the latest. Very nice ones. Wow, a lot. Wow, this is one. This is big enough. It's also fat, but it's big enough to actually see what's inside. Let's zoom in. It's interesting, actually. This one. Very nice. So tremendous amount and various sizes and big, fat and good looking ones. And we have also seen the enterprise class. So this is very, I mean, all of that hints me that actually the sodium bicarbonate additive was very, very successful. So we should add it, I mean, maybe even as a standard to every container from now on. Especially sealed containers that have the problem of lack of oxygen. Extremely beautiful ones. Wow, what a beautiful variety of, like, and they all like, I mean, in perfect like circle, almost all, like, besides the enterprise class, that, I mean, the really huge ones, I mean, they're never like completely, perfect circles, because they're, I mean, they're always also succeeding like in the environment that makes them, like, I mean, contour a little bit, but I mean, but the the smaller ones are also, I mean, not always circular, and in this slide they're remarkably circular. It's very nice actually to watch it. Okay, so this is it. Great success. I'm extremely pleased with this slide. And again, we should add more, I mean, the carbon, sodium bicarbonate, first of all, to the actual metal container, like the one that this sample was taken from, because that was the idea, to see, I mean, to see how it, I mean, it's compared next to like a sample that will be taken like in the future from the metal container. And I mean, of course, it wasn't scientific because I've only taken one sample from that one, and we've seen one sample from the other one 2 days ago. But I mean, what I've seen is but this was impressive enough, and it's not that the other one wasn't impressive. The water from the metal containers as is were actually pretty well, but this is remarkably, I mean, this was excellent. Like, I mean, excellent sample, one of the best until I had like in all this research. Well, exceptional sample, both because of the enterprise class and also the other ones that are very well formed and nice in tremendous quantities. So I mean, yes, I will add, like today, I mean, after I'm done, like, and with this video, will certainly add sodium bicarbonate to the big metal container, like, I mean, to the metal aquarium, and perhaps to other ones as well. I'll think about it. And now for something completely different, as they say, an example from the alien aquarium, which is, I mean, the fact that it's different from the others is very easy to see that, I mean, the slide look completely different, much more thicker and colorful material, and like it's completely different, like a thing. So let's take a look. Okay, so we see disgusting life form with neros on it, working on it. Certainly they are zombifying it. This is a zombified life form. And maybe I'll speak about zombie later, I mean, maybe, in the dictionary video, so I'll not spoil it for you, but in essence they are dead. I mean, zombies are dead. You see many smaller ones, which is great. Smaller ones are also fine, not only the bigger ones count. Certainly that we see so many. Let's zoom in. Yes, we see smaller ones in great quantity, which is great. It's awesome. Nice. So you might ask, why do we see many zombies but not many life forms that are not zombies? I mean, obviously the zombies, I mean, should be created from non-zombies, right? So I will address this question like in the dictionary, in the dictionary video. The TLDR, sometimes they create the zombies from scratch, but I will discuss it later. I would suggest, I mean, maybe it's too early just to jump to conclusion, but I would suggest that, I mean, this kind of like environment is great for preservation of neurons and maybe for their multiplication, but not really great for their like growth, because we see so many small ones, but we don't see bigger ones. Like, I mean, we see pretty big ones, but we see tremendous amount of smaller ones. So maybe there is some kind of like, I mean, and again, this environment is very nice. This environment is characterized by very, very low oxygen level, because not only that it's sealed container, but it was filled almost to the top with material that from the first place, I mean, did not have oxygen, like oils, like it's not, there was no pee in it, almost not at all, and no water, so so very little oxygen. This is nice. I mean, we see nice things. I can't say that I understand what I see. I mean, I do see tremendous amount of neurons, but I mean, in small to medium size, I mean, in our kind of scale, they might all be, I mean, huge compared to what you know from, I don't know, the body of the females. I don't know, but I mean, in our kind of scale, they are all like small to medium in tremendous size, but we don't see bigger ones. And it should also be said that we don't see the golden neurons or the yellow neurons, not the, I mean, the yellow-bellied neurons, not the yellow like all of these are yellow neurons because they are mine, like, I mean, as opposed to the red and the brown ones which belong to the Titans. But like, I'm a cherub, I mean, so it's another thing. But I mean, what we haven't seen now, and this was a very, very, very common phenomenon that can be seen in tremendous amount of slides, is the yellow-bellied or the golden-bellied neurons. And this was discussed a lot in this channel. I should just say that it's a very common phenomenon to see like a neuro and like groups of neurons with their belly, like, I mean, with the, like, not transparent, like, but I mean, filled with yellow or golden juice. And sometimes, rarely, I mean, one in like every 10,000 or so, you can see a like red juice or blue juice. But it sounds like very little, but I mean, it's actually there. I mean, when you see it, I mean, it's very, very, it's very, kind of like, it's very easy to detect it. I mean, even between like 10,000s, because it's so kind of like, something blue, like, blue dot or red dot. So yes, we've seen it already like in this channel, but mostly yellow-bellied and golden-bellies, and this was discussed in the channel pretty much in the past, and the conclusion that I've reached after several months of kind of like, I mean, thinking about it and conducting experiments and watching microscopic slides, and I still stand by this conclusion, even though it's not a very romantic one or interesting one, like less interesting than other hypotheses that were abandoned, that these are digestive fluids, that it happens when they eat, specifically when they eat life forms, like when they eat bacteria. So they are filled with this yellow or golden fluid, and after they are done, they are typically, I mean, they move and they keep like the fluid behind them. So when there's like a feeding ground, when many of them are feeding, I mean, you can see many times like yellow like pools without the neuro, like that is slowly like decomposing, and and that is very common, and we haven't seen none of it here, which implies that they do not feed off bacteria here, and that there aren't many bacteria here, and we actually haven't seen many. So they mostly feed off the raw material, which means linseed oil, beeswax, and several other types of oils, which is possible. I mean, there is like, I mean, a very stark, I mean, absence of life forms in this sample. Almost no bacteria at all, almost nothing. And so many like neros. And this, of course, demonstrates that they can be created from beeswax, or mostly from beeswax. And I mean, the zombies were created by them. I mean, they were their creation mostly. And so they can be created from beeswax, but I mean, we don't see them like feeding. We don't see them with the yellow belly and the gold belly. And this is a I mean, just to say that when you have so many neros, like it's always that, I mean, large part of them are feeding. Like if it's like an ecological, like, I mean, sample from an ecological like container. I mean, it's like you see millions of them here, and like, I mean, so like, hundreds of thousands you see with the golden bellies and the yellow bellies. I mean, it's very prominent in this channel. I mean, right from the beginning, like right from January, it's not uncommon at all. And I mean, the fact that you don't see it here, even though we've seen many millions already, is because there are no bacteria in this in this container, so they cannot feed off it. And that is why probably you don't see many big. I mean, you see some bigger ones, but mostly, I mean, tremendous amount of smaller ones, but not the bigger ones. A tremendous amount of smaller ones, but not bigger ones. So there is like, I mean, and you don't see them feeding. So all of that is kind of like, I mean, again, I mean, reaffirm what I think, that they, in order to grow, like to become really big, they need, or they prefer to feed off their, like what they like the most, which is shawarma, which means like chopped plankton that they chop themselves and eat mostly fresh, but not exclusively fresh. And we don't have any plankton in here. Almost nothing at all. This one is nice. There's another zombie. So it's zombie land. Like, I mean, no, we don't see like, I mean, we don't see like a living life from only zombies. It reminds me of Shoam, like the city that I lived, like the town that I lived for 4 years. It was almost impossible to find like a living person in Shoam. Like, I lived there for 4 years, and I rarely, if ever, like met. I mean, besides like my daughters and my wife, it was extremely rare to find like a non-zombie in the city. Like both men and women, I mean, all zombies. Like you know the movie. There's kind of like a movie with the Simon Pegg, maybe, that, I mean, he gets back to his like hometown or something like that, and they discover that everybody are robots. So something like that happened to me in Shoam. Like, it wasn't my hometown, but I mean, I discovered like it's like a new town for me to live in, and at some I mean, very early, like during like the 4 years that I stayed there, I discovered that they are all robots, like zombies. This was quite, I mean, it wasn't a nice, like, I do not miss the place, I must say. Of course, I miss my daughters that live in Shoam, but I do not miss the place at all. Like, tens of thousands of zombies, but not a living soul. Very nice Stargate Neo, very fat. So, I mean, of course, this is all very, I mean, very nice. Like, I mean, is this a Neo? Yeah. No, I don't know. I'm not sure. No. So all of this is very nice, and I mean, it reaffirms what we already know, that they preserve extremely well inside oil, and even high crude oil. Again, we should, I mean, try grease as like a base for container, whenever we can put our hands on grease, and they preserve very well, and they multiply well. But of course, again, there is the issue of like lack of life forms and lack of oxygen, which prevents the creation of life forms, which kind of set a boundary for how big they can get, probably, because they do not feed and on like chopped plankton, which is their preferred food source. as was evident in many microscopic examination. But I mean, tremendous amount of smaller ones. So just in this slide alone, there are many millions of neurons. Even maybe, I don't know, difficult to estimate, but certainly in the millions just in this slide. And of course, it's just a drop from nice jar, as you've seen. So yeah, it's kind of a real treasure, I would say. Even though I kind of feel sorry for them, because I feel, this is it. This is this it? No, this is the water from the aquarium that is enriched with sodium bicarbonate. And so this is the alien aquarium. You see it's filled to the top, and very nice, very nice, very promising. I just feel sorry for them, because I feel like they are neglected, because there are so many of them and they do not have their preferred food source. I feel like I want to prepare at least to create a new one from the jar, which will contain there are ways to actually, I have ways to actually artificially, manually add a lot of bacteria, because I have a little bit of cultures actually. Mostly they are made of rotten food items that were kept that I keep just for that purpose, biological cultures of germs that are multiplying on rotten food items that I keep in this room just for that purpose, to be able to create new containers with many bacteria as food source for the Nero. So what I think I will do, this can be very interesting, is to take at least maybe one quarter of this jar, to place it in another jar. Maybe I need a big one, so mostly it will be empty, so there will be because I need to keep it sealed. It's a problem not to keep it sealed. It's thinking, and I had enough of that. So, but I'll try to get a bigger jar, so there will be some oxygen. From the start, and also I'll add the sodium bicarbonate and material from rotten cultures that I have in this room. So we will be able to see, if my estimation is correct, and this is very rich, we have trillions of them here. So, the idea is to see what happens if you start with a container that, the mixture, initially contains tremendous amount of small neurons that are kind of starved, I would say. They don't get their preferred food source, and then you supply with tremendous amount of of bacteria that and also sodium bicarbonate, and to see what's going on. If and to check what happens after 3 days and week or things like that. And if the estimation my estimations are correct, what we will see is that all of them are becoming after a matter of days, you will see all of them in the golden form, now called the yellow belly or golden belly forms, which means that they are all feeding off that. And after a month, we will probably see tremendous amount of huge ones. According to the optimistic assumption. So certainly I will do it. I need to search for a container. Actually, I don't have empty jars, but the coffee is almost maybe I will use the coffee or the sugar. No sugar. I don't not use plastic. Only metal or glass. So I'll use this coffee. It's almost done. I can put it in another container, and this will be the basis. So it will have some kind of air locked with it. So that is for now. I must say that it was this one was among the most successful reviews that I've had. It's not always that good. If you're new to the channel, it's not always that successful. And it certainly seems, I took only one from each container, so, and I didn't watch it before, I watched it the first time now with you. So it was completely random and only one of each container, and taking all of that into account, it was very successful. It's not always that successful. We've seen very, all the three were very, very promising and showed very good development of ecosystem, even though they are all deprived of oxygen, all the three that we've seen in this video. But yes, we have good, first of all, we are optimistic regarding the preservance of what we already have, and also I have good direction how to create new containers with additional experimentation.